on the audio. And hello, everyone. Hello right
Hi.
there. It's been a week, and after a week, we are back with our second session for the Convergence Manifesto here on Horde of Tales. I'm hoping that so far sound and everything is going well, and that will be safe from any kind of technical hiccups, and we're just gonna have a nice and smooth stream tonight. Unfortunately, Austin will not be joining tonight. Hope he will be back soon, and we're gonna take good care of Delphine tonight. Let's see. Before we dive right in, any kind of announcements or things you want to share before we dive into the session? Is there anything exciting anyone had in the last week happening to them, or just some good news, good vibes they want to share?
You can't really tell on the stream, but I just wanted to share the exciting shirt I'm wearing today.
Oh, I actually know the artist.
Do you now?
This is an amazing piece of art done by Sariel, and I commissioned them for a long time campaign that I played with Marcus and for all the players, and we all loved it. There was many emotions, and I believe their Twitter says they're up for commission, so go get yourself something wonderful.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Ida, you're too kind. It was a pleasure working on that piece, honestly.
And if you're not commissioning, I think, Sariel, there's still some shirts that you sell anyway online, and just if you want to have a look, there's this really cool snake.
We didn't coordinate this.
This was not coordinated. There's this really cool snake shirt and other dope designs by Sariel that you can find. So if you want to look fancy during the winter month or any other time of the year, check them out.
Just for records, I don't wear a shirt by Saria.
We're sponsored. We're sponsored by their presence here. So
at least dressed by them.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I have given
Official
you
designer.
clothes. Thank you guys. You're all very kind. I hope you enjoy what I make. By the way, are we getting messages on the chat? Because mine might be broken. I don't know.
Oh no, it's still quiet, but we'll get
okay,
there.
because mine is doing the thing that Twitch does, where like it reloads the chat every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't know if like it's broken or it's just
Exactly.
So
no, we're still. I think people are still settling in, starting the evening off quiet, and
getting a coffee,
and just starting it off easy. Well, there's already Rose353 says the shirts look cool. Thank you very much for that.
I wish you could see them better.
And we're that's kind of you.
Oh, you know something exciting?
Well,
so I'm writing stuff on DM Guild. Like the second thing that I actually wrote on my own finally hit silver medal.
Oh,
nice.
It took
I saw you posted about it on Twitter. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Silver.
And now it gets a German translation.
Yes. That is the Winter Queen's Kiss. Is that correct?
No, that's Prismatic Whale.
Sorry, the prismatic veil. Yeah. Very cool. And there's of course still stuff for you that you're still surely writing on, and
yes, it's a while.
It's good. All good things take time.
Yeah, way too much time.
Alrighty. So. Well, just the typical other details and information about the stream for tonight before we get right in. As you notice, you are on this Twitch stream of Horde of Tales, and we're streaming a D&D campaign, Convergence Manifesto, which is an actual written campaign by the group called Across Eberron. We're currently in the very first adventure still, Fired and Forgotten. And if you like what you see here on the stream and you're like, yeah, I also want to run a adventure in Eberron, but I need some inspiration, go to acrosseberron.com, check them out. They have all the information to the adventures there. You can play them loose from each other. You can play them in an overarching campaign. You can play them however you want, because it's your game. This is the second session tonight. We're using, for our virtual tabletop, we're using Astral VTT, and any music that you're hearing tonight is by Dark Fantasy Studios. The overlay is made by Caro, who is also playing here, and I think that's for now the only announcements we have. Should we just get started? Should we get this show on the road? Then, if you all agree, then I'm just going to put us over to a quick little intro before we're right back to dive right into Ch.1 and the Convergence Manifesto. Whew, that was nice and fast, and we're back with just a little change in the overlay, now also showing the names of our party members here, who last session started their descent into the depth of Ch.1, the large city of towers, probably the largest city in Eberron. Here, these 4 individuals of our adventuring party have signed up with the Clifftop Adventurers Guild and have taken on their first mission for guild handler Lara. A simple enough challenge. It is to go into the depth of Ch.1, into the district of the Cogs, and acquire an item known as the Burning Idol, something that should be forged and crafted by a certain Hallis Drummond. Our newly recruited adventurers took the lifts down into the depth, marched their way through the dark and gloomy and soot-covered streets of the Cogs, and came to Drummond's Independent, just to find that his warforged workers were striking for better payment, better working conditions, and our characters, our heroes here, after some talking with the warforged, and also after acquiring entrance to Drummond's forge, decided that the warforged were in the right for their strikes, and had a conversation with Drummond, who seemed rather stubborn, but also mildly frustrated by also the fact that right at this moment, Guild Handler Lara had sent over these adventurers to come and pick up an item that he couldn't craft yet because his workers are on strike. Cunning as these young adventurers are, they decided that if Drummond isn't willing to pay the workers fairly, they might fight someone else, maybe find some other avenue, someone else who might even take over Drummond's forge. Drummond's personal assistant, Tresca, a friendly gnome woman, decided also that these adventurers that just appeared had an interesting approach to it, and decided for now to leave the forge and her current employment, as we ended the session with our heroes making their way to the Troll's Nose, a tavern in the Cogs where Stoke, the leader of the striking warforged, said he would be and would wait for any other information from our freelancers. And that's also where we're going to pick up. You, together with Tresca, have left behind Drummond's Independent, walked out the little alley further into the winding streets of the Cogs, and Tresca knows the way to the Troll's Nose, but even if you wouldn't have Tresca with you, sooner or later, you just had to find this establishment. It is a rather small-looking building that lies right between a scrapyard on one side and a slag heap on the other side. And already as you're approaching, you can hear from the inside of the building, you can hear loud laughter, cheering, the clinking of mugs and glasses. And there's even music coming from the inside of the tavern. And as you approach and step into the lights of the lanterns in front of the entrance, you see that a bit bored-looking half-elf is leaning against the entrance of the wall, is chewing on something. And as you approach and step into the light, he looks at your cosmopolitan band of adventurers, looks at all of you a moment in the eye, keeps chewing on whatever it is between his teeth. Then his gaze goes down to Tresca, and he gives her a knowing nod, quickly salutes her, and all of you are cleared to enter through the main door. And as you open the doors, you can already hear the sounds of the tavern and see that at this moment it is pretty packed. The space in here is crowded, and especially some of the taller characters in your party might have to be a bit careful where they step to not bump into people. And you also immediately see why this place is called the Troll's Nose. Dangling on one wall is fixed to the wall is just this, the largest troll head you have ever seen, with also a fairly large nose on it. And you see that someone painted almost like a dart target on the nose, and you see that stuck into the nose are different little arrows and darts that have been flung at it. And even a little bit above the nose, you see that there's a little hand axe that has been flung at it that is stuck in the affixed troll's head with its majestic nose. You look around, you see there's a bar, there's a duo of hobgoblins that serve behind the bar, dressed pretty snazzy, making chit-chat with the people at the bar. And in one corner, you can immediately see, seated around one of the larger tables, are Stoke and his crew members. And they're currently gathered around the table, a bunch of warforged, who are currently keeping themselves busy with playing some kind of card game. They haven't seen you enter yet. They probably didn't hear you enter because it's pretty loud and rowdy tonight here. But what would you like to do now that you are at the Troll's Nose?
Garish, how offensive to the senses. How avant-garde.
I like it here. So
I will look around for a table where we can maybe sit and have a conversation. Can I see Stoke?
You see Stoke at the largest table in one of the corners, and he has gathered his crewmen around him, and they're currently caught up in some kind of card game.
You want to have something to drink? You look like you need something. I'm coming back soon. And I'm heading off to the bar.
Gotcha.
I will go to Stoke since I promised him that I would come back later and say hello and everything, so I'm going to salute him.
All right. Delphine will follow you if you go to Stoke. Rain, is there anything you would like to do in this garish establishment?
I see people kind of split it off. Before I decide what to do, I'm just going to take a look around. Other than general merriment and, people drinking at a bar, anyone looking like shifty, shady, someone recognizing us?
Can you give me a perception check?
I can do that. 2. Garish.
2.
Is that snot? Oh, they should put snot in there.
I get back to you in a moment, Rain, for that result, as you're still captivated by the nose. Rebus and Delphine are walking over to the table where Stoke is seated. Delphine, you make your way over towards the bar, walking by some of the people that are gathered around the bar. There's some stools at the bar. Most of them are taken, but as you approach, if I remember correctly, you're dressed pretty fancy. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of fancy.
Yeah, rather flamboyant. And most of the people in here you usually are more the typical worker type looking people. Like there's different races, different backgrounds here, but most of them wear simple shirts and button-up shirts. Some of them have like working pants on and dirty boots, and there comes Delphine striding in with a hat with feathers and colored sashes, and it works in your favor because people kind of step out of your way, so it's easier for you to get to the bar. They step out of your way to just give you away, not because they're scared or intimidated, but more like they're taken a bit aback by this person showing up here. And it doesn't take you long for the two hobgoblin bartenders to also catch your eye. And one of them, he leans on one of his elbows on the bar, and he has an empty mug in one hand, a towel in the other, and he's just cleaning the mug. And he goes, what can I do for you?
So, leaning in. So, I would like to have, I'm looking back, 4 mugs of ale, 4 glasses of liquor. The strongest stuff that you have.
Strongest stuff? Very well. Say, sorry I'm asking, but you look like you're coming from topside. Not like really, not local.
I'm not from here.
That's
Basically, fresh from the ocean, if you wanna.
The ocean. The salt breeze in the air, the waves crashing against the shores, and a tavern in every harbor.
Seems like you have some knowledge about this.
So a lot of different people come by here, and they all bring their own stories. I'm just vicariously living through the stories of others.
Nice.
Anyway, 4 ales, 4 glasses of liquor, the strongest stuff we have.
Yeah, and maybe, since you're saying a lot of people are passing by, you might have some knowledge what's going on right now, beside the strike that's going over there.
And he looks over at the group of warforged at the table that Rebus and Delphine, they've reached the table over there. And the barkeep looks at it. Yeah. Stoke and his crew. Good folk. But, well, yeah, that's happening. But what kind of other information you're looking for?
Interesting rumors. Maybe some stories you have here that are kind of uncommon for you.
And as you ask that, he looks at you, then he looks at the other people that are at the bar, and you see that asleep on the bar next to you is this dwarf who's he's lying face down on the bar, and you can hear him snore. And on the other side of you, you see leaning against the bar is a gnoll, so hyena person, so to say, who has like this bandana dangling from his neck, and he's just leaning against the bar, and you get the impression that he's having a conversation with other people at the bar, but he's kind of half paying attention to your conversation with the barkeep. And The barkeep looks at the gnoll, and the gnoll sees the barkeep looking, and then the gnoll just wanders off. And the barkeep says, well, you're ordering some beers and some liquor. Say that we'll go you 4 silver.
Mm-hmm.
What's any additional information worth to you?
Depends what kind of information it is.
I mean, there's a reason why Drummond isn't paying those warforged, and not just because he's kind of a jerk. Some other stuff there.
Oh, I'm interested.
Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah. But I've been speaking a lot tonight already. You know, there's been a lot of people coming to the bar here, and I've been having a lot of conversations. Not sure how much talking I can keep doing.
Yeah, understandable. Taking out like 2 gold pieces. Playing with them in my fingers. I understand it very well. Sometimes talking a lot is quite exhausting.
Absolutely. And he leans a little bit forward so that his hand can easier like reach out to your hand with the gold pieces. He's not trying to grab them. He's just like reaching it out so you could put them into his hand. And
yeah, then handing them over.
He takes them and he says, "Did you ever hear about Dusk?"
Not yet.
Came into Sharn a few years ago, this kind of, well, criminal organization. They put together a few of the rivaling bands here, and now they're kind of running the underground. It's what I heard. Not that I have any involvement with them.
No, of course not.
But, heard that Drummond actually has some debt with them. And that all his coin, most of his coin, just has to go back to Dusk.
Interesting.
Absolutely. Say, you want any kind of snacks with that for you? Maybe some dried cheese and meats? I'm feeling a bit generous. Suddenly I'm overcome with a feeling of generosity, and he like pockets the 2 gold pieces.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, it was a long way down here.
I can understand. And he's already like the other barkeeper has already put out the mugs with ale and some strong liquor. Now they're putting also some snacks in there, some bread, some really moldy looking cheese, and dried meat, though it raises the question, where do they keep the cattle down here for the dried meat? So it's dried meat, and they're giving it more or less for free.
Yep.
Is there any other kind of info you would like to get out of him? Or?
No, not now. Maybe later.
All right. You're having a bit of a banter with him over there. Rebus, you and Dythun, while this is happening, while Delphine is gathering some information and having some banter with the barkeep, you've moved your way over to the table where the warforged are sitting. And as you approach, you just see one of the warforged raises his hand with his cards and just slams it on the table and says, "I think I've won." And then you see Stoke, who has like his face behind his cards, looks at the cards on the table. Fuck. And he puts them there, moves over some coins to the other player, and then he looks up and he sees you and Dythun approaching, and he raises both his arms. "Ah! Friends of the Revolution, come, make some space, make some space." And he gestures to some of the warforged, some of them, like, they're sitting on these benches, and this collection of benches and chairs that they gathered around the table. And some of the warforged, they scoot up a bit to make place to sit. And you see Dythun, who's also not small in any regard, like, he sits down on what space is made for him, but it's still a bit of a tight fit. And there's some other warforged who just take some chair from another table that's not used, and they put it over to this table as well. So this circle of chairs and benches is growing as they make space for you. Well, how did it go with Drummond?
Oh, well, thank you for the place. Very kind of you. So we managed to talk to Mr. Drummond. He didn't seem very open to the idea of changing his business procedures. But luckily, we were able to talk with his assistant, who might be interested in having a deal with you. You know Tresca, right?
Oh,
Lady
Tresca!
Tresca.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, she is a marvelous forge assistant.
And I will look for Tresca. I don't know if she stayed behind or if she came with us.
Tresca is at this point together still at Rain's side, and they're both like looking at the troll's nose, and Tresca is like telling some stories about where that hat came from. So you can see her, you can point over to her, but she's at Rain's side.
Okay, I will continue. And so we were hoping to maybe find some kind of arrangement, because you see, our business with Mr. Drummond, or with his establishment, was about an item that he should have had prepared by now, and apparently he hasn't finished because circumstances. And our client would very much like that item to be delivered to her, and asked us to, stay up and stay down here with you until we ensured that the item would be delivered. So for the benefit of everybody, I feel like some kind of agreement should be reached between either Mr. Drummond or his assistant and you and your workers. And hopefully that will be good enough. I am very sorry we could not figure out a better way of getting things back to normal, but since Mr. Drummond seemed very opposed to the idea of offering pay, and our friend, our companion, Miss Delphine, pointed out some potential pressure points for him, I think we'll have a solution in our hands shortly.
It already sounds like you're trying to find a way to put more pressure on that git. What about you sit down for now, and also get your companions over here as well, and we talk this through.
Oh yes, certainly. I am not in any way wanting to cause any affliction to Mr. Drummond. I just want our group to be able to have our task, drive our task to completion efficiently, and that just depends on him.
The only thing I want
to do.
The only thing I want to do is hurt his pride. I don't want to hurt him physically. And just getting the message across that he's no one, nowhere, without his employees, and that he should treat us fairly.
That seems reasonable. I will go call my companions, and I'll...
And as you go over there, while you're still talking there, Rain, you've been looking at the troll's hat, and Tresca actually goes, "Oh, well, yes, I've been told once that this is actually a troll that was slain a few years ago just outside of the city gates. Some kind of... There's various stories about it. Some say it was... this was actually a unfortunate polymorphed wizard who never got out of his polymorph spell. Dangerous things.
It is so well maintained on the wall. Do they not decompose quickly?
Well, that's it's one of the things that a capable mage rite can do. Some regular minor enchantments on it, and the decomposition can be slowed to a very slow pace.
What a wonderful punishment. What a wonderful
punishment?
way to afflict torture and humiliation after death. It continues marvelous. Any sort of family standing or pride or semblance of meaning is completely devoid. How ingenious.
What?
Garish, nonetheless.
Right. Garish, yes. And Tresca lets out this kind of nervous chuckle as she looks at you.
Should consider something like this.
Rain, your perception check was a 2, right? That was yeah. Which reflects that you're very caught up looking at this thing. What you do even notice, since you still have eyes and they're capable to see things, even with a roll of 2, you do see that at the other end of this tavern, that there's some kind of boxing ring, fighting circle, and it's this little area that's cordoned with some ropes, and you can see that next to it there's this table, and what you would probably call a garish chair behind that table. And seated in there is this lanky and tall hobgoblin who has his hair slicked back. It almost looks like it's covered in mud, slicked back. He has a tattered fancy suit on. Like, the suit was maybe fancy like 30 years ago and hasn't been kept up well. There's some holes in there and everything. But there's some kind of fresh flower attached to his chest. And a fairly nice looking tie around his neck. And he sits there and has this kind of magic metal horn in his hands. And as he takes it up, you see, as he takes his position behind this table looking out over this fighting area, more and more people from the establishment move closer to the ring. And then the hobgoblin puts his mouth behind one end of the horn, and as he speaks, his voice comes out of the other end, amplified, going over all conversations here. And you can just see him say, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Troll's Nose Tavern. Tonight we have our rings, our squared circle open again for those who feel brave, who feel strong, and who just want to earn some coin. How you feeling tonight?" And you can hear some cheers from the crowd, like, "Hey, yay!" And as the crowd gathers around it, you see that some of them actually raise up signs which have like names and drawings on them. You see like one sign has this ferocious looking face on it, and then the text on it, "The Red Devil comes." Then there's another sign with this hooded figure, and there's like, "The Silver Kiss, your final kiss." All kinds of fans for these fighters who come to this ring. And the hobgoblin with the magical horn just keeps continuing talking about it. And then Tresca next to you says like, "Oh, I guess it's fighting night tonight."
Ace.
Oh, well, it is pretty brutal sometimes, but they don't go to the death. It's until one of the two submits, which can sometimes be pretty brutal, but usually not.
Are you a ring fighter, Tresca?
Oh, no.
In another life, perhaps I would have been champion of everyone. But alas, where are our companions?
As you say that, you see standing behind you, because you still rolled perception too, and you were so looking at the at the nose and the ring. Standing behind you now is the frame of Rebus, who has approached you.
Excuse me, Miss Wright. Miss Tresca. We wanted to start a conversation over at Stokes' table, if that would be okay. Do you know where Delphine is? I can't seem to find her.
Rebus, you can look over most of the crowd, and you can see at that point your look goes over the crowd, and you see at the bar that Delphine is just given a tray with mugs and drinks, and there's a very happy-looking hobgoblin at the other side of the bar.
Oh, never mind. I seem to have located her feathered hat. If you would be so kind as to go to Stokes' table, I will join you in a second.
All right. So long as this conversation gets us what we need. Don't want to stay here much longer.
I will go to where I see Delphine just to make sure that she knows where we are sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Delphine, you can easily spot Rebus and the others, and they basically also wave you over to the table where the warforged are. And the warforged have in the meantime also made sure that the other members of the party also have place to sit. Your sitting corner over there has claimed a significant number of the chairs and benches now. There's about a dozen warforged here, including Stoke. And then there's your band here as well, and Tresca, who are now gathered around this table. Delphine, you put down the drinks and the snacks and everything. The warforged have, in the meantime, cleaned up their playing cards. And they, once you're all seated, Stoke looks at all of you when you're all of your drinks, and he says, "So Rebus here already told me that you had a conversation with Drummond and that you're looking into possible avenues of approaching this. I'm curious. What do you make of Hellas Drummond?"
Oh, we will destroy him.
But not
Those-
before we get what we need. But
Don't
do we
know
even...
him. You don't need him.
That's true. We don't need him. I look at Tresca and Stoke. If you're the ones with the capacities, why not just make it for us?
Well,
Accept the payment on Drummond's behalf.
Drummond still has the forge we need to use, and I'm pretty sure...
Not long.
Well, yes, that is one thing you indeed... What are your ideas on wrestling the forge from him?
Is he a pit fighter?
No.
I mean, we already got some informations that are not good for him.
Oh. What
I'm a
does
bit
that mean?
confused, Miss Delphine. Surely, we will be able to use this information to strike a deal with Mr. Drummond, either passing the business over to Tresca or giving the Warforged faction what they need. But I feel like there's something more that you are planning on doing that I am not aware of.
Let's say I had a very interesting discussion that gave me some insights what's going on with him. But can I take a look around if someone else in the bar is in the tavern is looking? Because I had like quite a suspicious feeling about this gnoll.
Mm-hmm. This is a good point where I would like everyone to please make a perception check. As you are nicely sitting there enjoying your drinks and wanting to make sure that no one's eavesdropping. Is that a natural 20?
Well,
For a grand
Damn.
for a grand total of
20. 20.
20. All right.
19.
19.
I also rolled 20, not natural, but 20 total.
20. Those are some very good rolls. So, Delphine, before you spill the beans here, you and your companions, you take a look around. And you all would notice that there's this, now, standing a few feet away from you, there's this knoll. Delphine, you saw him earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just looking over at your table, but you're not sure because by the noise that's going on in this establishment, he's too far away to hear anything that you're talking about here.
But he's clearly looking over.
He's looking at the table, yeah.
I wink at him.
You wink and wave at him, and you see this knoll now, his ears perk up, and he just pulls up the bandana that was hanging around his neck, and he pulls it up over his snout, and then walks towards the door, and from one of the coat hangers near the door, he picks off this leather jacket, pulls it over, and walks out of the tavern. And all of you see that, of course, also as well.
Someone you knew. They seem to be in a hurry.
I saw him already at the bar. So... I'm not sure how much he got to know about it, but it doesn't matter. Well, can I get, and I point to Rain, Rebus, that other warforged, that a name I already forgot?
Stoke.
Stoke.
Okay. Yeah, Stoke and Tresca and Delphine. Basically, like, yeah, come with me.
Oh.
Stoke looks at you, looks at the rest of his crew.
They are fine without you for 5 minutes. It's not like is no one would notice if they are going.
If this is anything sensitive, I am not afraid to discuss this in front of my crew.
Are you
Oh,
alright
it's-
discussing it in front of potential spies?
Mhm.
Like the other person who left just now?
Let's see if we are already giving away all of information in the full tavern. That might be like an opportunity that we're giving away.
Fine, you are right. And he looks over to his crew. I'll be right back. Play a few more hands. Win me back some of my coin. And Stoke gets up and will follow you wherever you plan to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rain, you are very capable of magic.
Yes.
I guess you can't like create deep zone or anything so that no one can eavesdrop.
No, not momentarily. Well,
Okay.
I could deafen everyone to an inch of their lives. Would that be more helpful?
It would have been the Noel, but I think he's gone. So, yeah, same for me. But
What about... wonder if I can do this.
give me a second. I'm going over to the bar. You have like a quiet room in here that we can use.
The barkeep says, I have a basement.
It works as well.
Hey, you see him like, he has like in his chest pocket, he looks in and you see the glinting of the 2 gold coins that you gave him. All right. And he he waves over at the other barkeep, and then waves all of you over to come behind the bar. And behind the bar, there's this trapdoor that he lifts up, and there's a fairly steep ladder that leads down into going by the air that's coming out of the trapdoor is a surprisingly moist basement underneath here.
As moisty as the cheese that he gave us.
Well, it might explain if he stores the cheese there. That might not really help for keeping the cheese fresh.
Well, going down there.
If you go down the ladder, and it's an older ladder that you need to go down, and there's a bit of creaking as you step down into the basement, which is what you would expect of a tavern basement. There's some boxes and barrels here. You see skittering somewhere on the edges. You see some vermin skittering around. But with the four of you, Tresca and Stoke down here, it's pretty crowded already. It's not a big basement, and most of it is taken up with storage space. But once you're down there, you see the barkeep looking down, and he's just like, "You want me to leave the door open, or should I just close it? You can just knock if you want to come up."
Yeah, close it. I will knock.
All right. And he closes the trapdoor, and it's pretty dark down here now.
This is fine. Everything's fine.
You don't like small rooms?
Oh no, that was just me saying that, like, you know, it's not sketchy at all. Just going in a basement of an establishment that we just entered for the first time. You know, you did pay. You did pay very well the bartender. So hopefully, you know, nothing bad will happen. But
Now
So
that we're
I-
here, can we finally hear what you've learned?
Yeah, I'm seating myself on one of the on the barrels. So we already know. For you, I'm pointing to our newest friend. We know
Stoke.
that the Drummond actually has some problems with financing the wolf thing. So, especially with House Cannith.
Cannith.
Cannith. Oh. Yeah.
there are many
So-
houses. It's okay.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's horrible. Yeah, with House Cannith. Since they basically want to take his establishment away from him since he's not paying, and the last registration wasn't renewed. So, but there's also the thing he can't pay because, and that's just the latest news that I've got, he is in some debts with let's say some kind of criminal organization that's operating in the city. And I have the feeling that that was eavesdropping on us is part of them. Otherwise, he wouldn't wear such an ugly leather jacket.
Tresca, as you say all that, you see that Tresca has, to put a little bit of light in here, she's pulled from her tool belt this almost like flashlight, like ever-bright lantern. It's just this tiny dot of light, but it actually gives off a bit of a beam of light, where a regular lantern is like more like a sphere of light. This is like a beam. And she's like holding it a little bit under her little face to at least illuminate it. And she might not be even aware of how she's looking right now, that it's a little bit of these shadows over her face, but she's holding it there, and she's just listening to you. And as you mentioned that he's in deep with some criminal organization, she says, well, there were some people that came by his office a few times, and when I asked Hallis about them, he said that I shouldn't care about that it's not my problem, he's dealing with it. Maybe those were the people he has trouble with. But criminal organizations? Oh boy, Drummond. Who told you that?
Oh, let's say you can basically get everything for the right amount of money.
Oh, that is very true, especially in a place like the Cogs. But what are you implying then? Or what are you trying to say? I mean, you want us to pay off his debt so that he can pay his workers?
No, he will definitely
Sounds like
lose
a victim.
his. He will lose his forge. Definitely.
But do you mean then that it's now just a question to who he will lose his forge? Either to criminals he owes money, or to a new owner of it, Stoke says.
I mean, a new owner will be probably preferable. Or owners, in the end.
What does any of this matter in getting the thing we need? If we have this information, why not just march back, tell him we know how much shit he's in, and demand that he allow his wonderful workers to use the forge, make the item, receive the payment, and he can resolve all his debts.
Well, Miss Rain, I am not certain that just the payment that we are offering would cover all of his debts, which is what would explain that he's refusing to pay his workers. This is why it's important for our endeavor. The sooner that we get the business working, whether either with Drummond or without him, the sooner we can get the item crafted.
When Delphine and I were in the back of his office, either he's an extremely talented thespian, or it sounded like that wasn't the true reason he wasn't paying his workers.
The thing is, the longer his forge isn't working, the more he is, in need of money. So there's like a lot of pressure going onto him. So at some point, I mean, if I have no problem with like staying a few more days down here, even though the air is quite, but well, I can live with this for now. But let's say we give him a few days without his workers and anything that goes on in his forge, and maybe I can get a grab on this null and try to have a nice conversation with this organization. Then we could probably put him into a corner where he can't really escape off.
I am certain that the organization you're talking about also wants their money back. So it seems like most of our interests are aligned. Except I still don't know where Mr. Drummond will be able to get the money from. Are there any other means of obtaining remuneration here? It might be a job, or it might be some kind of game, or gambling, or fighting.
As you say that, you hear from muffled through the wood of the trapdoor. You hear from the floor above you, there's this bell, ding ding, and you hear the voice of the announcer. Dear guests, get ready for round 1 of this evening. We have in the left corner the one, the only, the Mystic Mirage. And you hear there's like a few cheers, but a lot of boo sounds coming. And then on the other end you hear, and in the other corner, another enigma from the dark streets of the cogs, hooded in darkness, but also in more darkness. It is the Silver Kiss. And you hear a lot of cheering like, yeah, Silver Kiss, Silver Kiss. It's all muffled through the floor and everything, but you can clearly hear that apparently tonight's first fight is starting.
I'm just pointing like upwards, like, well, if you want to have a fight for money, there's one.
So let me get this straight, and this seems like very strange managering you do here on land. We, who are contracted to receive a completed item, must secure the funds for someone else's workers to finish their job.
As far as I know, I don't care about Drummond. I just want to have the item. But it's funny.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was not suggesting we get the money. I was just wondering, since both workers and criminal organization would want to be paid, then how will that problem get solved? Even if Drummond doesn't have the shop anymore.
Well, we have... I mean, then this is his problem if he loses the shop. So...
That is true.
So we don't need to take care of this. But we have this payment here. Might be enough to cover his debts for a while or to renew his contract. Who knows? So in a few days he will be in such a need to get this that he has no other choice.
Stoke crosses his arms and he leans against one of the barrels. Well, it sounds like a mighty fine way for you to get what you need. But how do we know that if, by whatever means, Drummond gets his forge up and running again, I am sure that my crewmates and I will have fair payment?
Well, if he loses the forge, there is definitely a need for a new owner. So, you seem like a rather capable worker. I mean, all your men are listening to you. So they're trusting you, and Tresca is also in her field quite capable, so...
Well, Tresca says, not that I don't think it is an exciting idea to get involved with the criminal underworld. I've read many novels about the adventures one can have once one is caught up in the whirlwind that is a criminal life, and it does give me a little bit of excited goosebumps, but I do want to point out that House Cannith has already sent multiple warnings to Drummond, and if we would bring also this news that Drummond is also seeking funds from criminal elements, combined with the warnings, if we bring it to the enclave of House Cannith, we might be able to expedite certain things, so to speak. I have a good friend of mine works for the Cannith enclave. It's a bit of a walk from here, But we could at least start to file our formal complaint and request for removal of a member of the Cannith licensing program.
I agree with this idea. You see, I'm afraid I haven't been expressing myself accurately. I was worrying about the ability of Mr. Drummond to pay his debt, in part because of his own well-being, but also because if we were just to simply change the management of the shop and pass it down to you and Stoke, I am worried that this criminal organization might come knocking on the door for the payments that the previous owner owes them.
Oh, you mean because they would just claim it on the owner? They don't care who pays it, as long as someone pays it. Is that correct?
I am not quite versed on the behavior of the organics, but I believe that is how that is common among underground criminal organization. Yes.
And so you mean even if we would acquire control and ownership of the forge, we would still be the ones who might have to deal with that organization?
If Drummond cannot not deliver pay, then yes, indeed, you would.
Oh, that is a fair concern.
Does it mean we need to clean this up as well?
I am unsure. It would probably be useful to talk to somebody from the organization and see what plans and what procedures they would be following. But just from extrapolation of my previous data, I feel like it's a risk worth keeping into account.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in order to clean things normally, I don't know. I don't think I've ever cleaned a thing in my life. One needs resources, and one needs a semblance of authority to provide those resources. So perhaps going to this House Cannith is a good start. So let's do that. Leave this wonderfully complex aroma behind. And on the way, I would like to just take a quick peek at the base physical activity those sweaty people are doing in the corner.
As you say that, Rain, you can hear from upstairs. There's the sound of someone slamming on the ground, and you hear the crowd go "Ooh!" And then you hear the voice, the amplified voice of the hobgoblin. Oh, that was the signature move! The Silver Kiss, delivered by the Silver Kiss! It's 3, it's 2, it's 1, and he's done! Silver Kiss wins! And the crowd goes wild upstairs.
Somehow I only hear Silver Kiss. But anyway, let's go. I'm going over to the stairs, knocking on the trapdoor.
You knock, and just a few moments later, the door is opened, and the hobgoblin helps you all. Whoever wants some help, he helps them pull them up out of the basement as well. And once everyone is out, you see him look down the basement, into the basement to just check if you didn't do
anything.
I hope you didn't. Did you see any rats down there?
Did we? Were we supposed to?
Oh, no, of course not. This is a very clean and fine establishment, but sometimes I hear this scratching sound under the floorboards, and I was thinking it might be rats.
Must be really large rats.
Yeah, and he just notices that this conversation is going nowhere as he closes the trapdoor again. And you do see indeed that at this point you see that in the center of the squared circle, you see this large cloaked figure, like, for lack of a better description, almost kind of this Batman-esque cape and cowl over their head, is standing there, and their hand is raised up by the presenter, the hobgoblin who's presenting this, in a victory pose as they leave the squared circle, and you can hear the crowd cheering like, silver kiss, hey, silver kiss, hey, silver kiss, hey, as they're being celebrated for their victory.
Leaning over to Rain. He doesn't look silver.
Astute. I like it.
Is there anything else, because if I understood it correctly, if your intention is to try and head over to House Cannith, to the enclave, Tresca would make clear that she knows the way there, that she can take you there. It would be a bit of a walk, because it would be, I wouldn't say on the other side of the district, but in the better parts of the district, if there is a better part of the district here. But she says if you go by foot, probably would be like a walk of 30 to 45 minutes to get there.
Did I catch a glimpse of Silver Kiss's face underneath that cloak?
What you would claim if you look, and especially because Delphine says so witty, like, hey, there's nothing silver about them. If you look under the cloak, there's like this hooded cloak, and you see that there's just this silver metallic full facial mask under it, which looks like it has these rectangular eye slits and a rectangular mouth slit, but there's nothing behind it. It almost looks like if you know Doctor Doom from the Fantastic Four, it's kind of like a Doctor Doom mask in that regard.
As we walk out, I'm going to open a telepathic link with them, but I'm not going to continue looking at them. I'm just going to walk out. I'm just going to let my voice into their mind say, "You will be victorious in your next fight. Wager everything you have. You will be victorious in your next fight. Wager everything you have." Close link. And I just walk smirking to myself.
Can you...
You're so intrusive. I can't.
Can you give me a quick either performance or persuasion check with advantage, because it's coming from such a weird angle.
It's a voice from the heavens. That is a total of 18 persuasion.
18 persuasion. You look over, catch a glimpse of the silver-masked face, and you project your voice in there, and you break the connection before they can respond. But you do
Just
glance from the
walking
corner
out.
Yeah, you're just walking out from the corner of your eyes. You see that the Silver Kiss just looks up, looks around where that came from, and has, of course, no clue where it came from, because you can't hear from which direction telepathy comes. Well, they're just now being pulled away by the crowd to be celebrated like the victor of tonight. As you make your exit, is there anything else you would like to do before you leave behind the Troll's Nose Inn and its interesting denizens?
No, that's what I wanted to do as I left.
Right. Cool. All right.
Well.
Tresca will lead the way as you leave behind the Troll Nose Tavern. You go back into the streets, leading away from the establishment. Smoke, soot, and very bad lighting surrounding you as you go through small alleys, a few wider streets. You hear the clinking of hammers on steel. In the distance, the whooshing sound that hot metal makes when it enters cold water. And all these smells of industry around you. And at one point you notice while Tresca... Yeah?
So, about what time is it right now? Because it feels like it's night all the time.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I guess we came here in the morning, so it's still
Right.
like the working day, right?
Right, yeah. You point at an interesting thing because, of course, telling time down here is really hard. You have no daylight down here, and the only thing you're going on by now is your internal clock, so to speak. And since you came down here in the morning, going by how much time you estimate has gone by now, it's like somewhere early afternoon, something around that time at this point. Though you also
but
you
no
do
enclave.
get the you do get the impression that by how many forges are here and how people might be working in shifts, that there's always work going on here, no matter what time of day it is.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. As we are walking, I would like to sometimes just take a look around, like casually look around and see if someone is following us or something.
All right. Rebus, was there something you wanted to also do?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Rebus has the lantern that they brought, the everlasting.
Perfect. So Delphine is also keeping an eye out. Rain, is there anything you would like to do while you're following Tresca? Strutting you will. And you are the most strutting Triton that has ever strutted across the streets of the Cogs. And Delphine, since you are really paying attention to anyone who might be following you, keeping eyes on you, could you give me a perception check, please?
Of course I can. I can't promise it's a good one.
Oh, but you at least
It's a
can
14.
try.
It's a 14.
Oh,
It's not bad.
14? 14?
It's 14.
Whew. Tresca is taking the lead here. She's walking in the front, and at this point, Stoke for now is not coming with you. He's back at the troll's nose. He's with his crew for now. He takes it that Tresca has all the information, that she can present the case, also in his best interest. But Tresca is taking the lead, and as she's walking, she's like almost trying to be this hobbyist tour guide as she leads you around. And with the problem being that there's not much sightseeing to be done in the Cogs. It's mostly, here's another big forge of this and this company. Here's a refinery of this and this company. Here's a corner where I was once almost trampled by someone. All these kinds of things. But you almost get more like the feeling as she just doesn't like to have an awkward silence or something. She's kind of like filling the air with her voice. And while she does that, with as charming as she can be, you notice that you come again along the same street where you were when you asked for the way to Drummond's Independence. There's a little store where Rebus checked with his minotaur, with his horns and gold rings, where the direction were. The street at this point is a bit emptier. Maybe there's some people here that are on break or that are taking business elsewhere. And you see the stall of the Minotaur, but you don't see the Minotaur there. It's kind of, and it has like this little paper sign on the stall in fairly beautiful handwriting. It says, "Be right back." And just standing there. And as you walk down that street and Tresca is telling about some kind of anecdote from her past, Delphine, you notice in an alley some shuffling to your right. Someone darting away.
Gosh.
I'm just a little bit confused that my walking speed is quite slow. Well, yeah. How far is this person away?
At this point, like 15 feet. Not really far.
Okay. I hope this person is not wise because I cast Compel Duel on them.
Compelled duel.
Yeah.
All right. Let me quickly check. Compelled duel.
Does it have verbal somatic components that we're seeing Delphine now do?
It is a verbal spell, so she at least has
verbal
to
one.
say something when she does that.
Yeah, I'm basically loudly saying, "Stop! Come over here."
All right.
Stop and turn and look. It's like, Delphine.
And it's a
you
wisdom
had me
saving throw.
already.
It's a wisdom saving throw.
Wisdom saving throw. Okay. What's the DC on the saving throw?
12.
12.
It's not
Let's
high.
see. I rolled a 3. So, and they do have a negative modifier to it. So
Nice.
you see this figure running off into the alley, and you shout after them like, "Stop, come here." And the person stops, turns around, steps out of the darkness of the alley, and you see that it's this tall, muscular orc, and you recognize the face. This is one of the rivals from the other adventuring guild that you encounter, that you raced in the Charmed Chicken. And there's still some bruises and cuts on him, but he's now stepping out of the gloom of this side alley, and he has this great axe on his shoulder. And you just hear him say, "Ugh. All right then." And at that point, you also hear, let's say, Rebus and Rain, you both also hear suddenly this whooshing sound of a projectile passing between the two of you, and landing in the streets is this arrow. And on one of the rooftops next to you, you see this halfling with bow and arrow standing there, also one of the rivals. And on another roof, on the other side of the street, you see the elvish figure that was also a member of this trio, who now has this crackling green energy between her hands. And you hear the halfling just shouting, "Not like we planned, but let's take him down a peg." And that's where we're going to take a break now, first. And then after
on.
that...
We were just having a stroll. Like we were. What's happening?
Sorry? Not sorry.
I
I
don't
got
think
jealous
it's
of
your
my walk.
fault. Like if
I mean,
It's totally Rain's fault. They got jealous.
All right, let's say we take a bit of a 10-minute break. We'll be back at around, well, in 10 minutes. Over here it will be 9:30 then, whatever time it will be over wherever you are. And we'll see you then in 10 minutes. And we are back. And what's that? There's a battle mat on screen, and there's people in the streets fighting. It's chaos. And
No.
we
Let's do this.
left before our break as our main characters were just wandering the streets of the oh-so-safe district of the Cogs to make their way towards the House Cannith enclave, and it got jumped on. And Delphine wants to start combat with a question.
Yeah, I just want to say, this is to the viewers. If the cat is showing, give us cat vantage with your channel points. You might need it, or Marcus might need it.
Exactly. If you see a beautiful orange-red cat walking in front of my camera, and you have the channel points, use the cat vantage feature, and let us know who's getting advantage on a roll. You can give it to any character. That includes player characters, but if you want to be a little bit devious, you can also give it to a DM character or a non-player character. But it's your points, it's your world. Without further ado, before I start describing the map and everything, how about you roll us a round of initiatives, please?
Oh boy.
Let's do this.
Minus 15.
15.
15 for rain. My dex modifier is +0.
Oh, minus +2.
That's why I'm
I'll go
matching.
first.
So 15 Rebus and 15 Rain. I had already during the break rolled for Dythun, who's Austin's character, who's absent, who had a 20. Delphine, what did you roll?
18.
18. Nice. All right. Okay. So you are in this little intersection of roads, this kind of square area for the where some business is conducted here in the Cogs, and Delphine has just grabbed the attention of an orc who was trying to get out of an alley, who is now compelled to duel her. And from the rooftops around you, both rooftops being about 15 feet high above you, you see on one of the rooftops, you see the halfling figure, and on the other, an elvish woman. The halfling with a bow and arrow already had fired a shot towards the group. And on the other roof, there's the elf with crackling green energy between her hands. And we're gonna kick off the round with the top of the round, which is Dythun with 20. Dythun is grabbing his longsword from his back, and he notices that the orc has quite an impressive weapon as well. And he's already going to but he also notices that the orc is focused on Delphine. So Dythun is going to spend some movement to get over here. And he is going to start to try and climb his way up on the roof, which is going to, if he's climbing up, it's not like I never used these rules before, but if I recall, if you don't have a climb speed, then climbing a vertical surface is difficult terrain, if I recalled correctly.
For now, sure.
Yeah. So it's still, that kind of moves up all his movement to get up on the roof, and he stands over there now looking at the halfling, and you hear a bit of a growling sound from Dythun as he has his weapon ready, but that also ends his turn. And that brings us to Delphine.
Mm-hmm. Taking out my rapier.
Mm-hmm.
So, with his very smug smile, and then basically rushing over to him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this was my only. Yeah, just keep it there and attack him I guess it's the best way to go. Like directly in front of him.
But that's not
That's-
where... That's Tresca. That's not the orc.
But the orc is the other one that's...
The orc
Hey,
is
right.
about 4 squares above you.
I don't see 4 squares above me.
Maybe there's vision issues? I see everything.
I see him, but on the other point. Ah, now I see the difference. It hasn't moved for me. Okay, then there.
There we go. There we go.
That's why I was confused, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, good. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And you're gonna attack him?
Yes, of course.
Woohoo. Make an attack roll.
What is my attack modifier? Does a 16 hit.
Yes, that does hit.
Okay.
Let's go.
Oh, these are 12 points of piercing damage.
Whew. All right. So as he's like still busy drawing his great axe, you already dash forward, your rapier in hands, and you cut him across his chest before he is able to pull out his weapon entirely. And you see him stagger back a bit as he grabs hold of his weapon. And he did not expect already a hit of these proportions.
You should give up as long as you can.
He's just looking at you. Anything else you would like to do?
No.
No?
No.
All right. So Delphine got in there. Then it is the halfling on the roof's turn, who is noticing that there's an Leonin moving towards her. She's going to take a few steps back on the roof and fire an arrow at Dythun.
You know, you see a giant lion man coming towards you.
And it gets even scarier when you fire an arrow at them and they just lean out of the way of the projectile as it passes by them. And Dythun is not hit by the arrow as he just keeps his eye on the rival from the Deathgates guild. And a bit nervous, the halfling ends her turn, which brings us to Rebus.
So, I will, realizing that my companions are in trouble, I will go towards the... Can I see the elf lady? Or...
Yeah, she's about...
okay.
She's about 15 feet above you on the edge of the roof, but you can't see her.
Oh, she is... Okay. Okay. Do I think I could get there? Like, is there a way to climb?
I'd say with your movement speed and how rough the edge of the wall is and everything, if you spend all your movement getting over there and get up on the wall, you could just make it up to her.
I will, because otherwise the orc is tied with Delphine right now,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nobody who could reach her otherwise. At least for now. Maybe once Rain can engage in some ranged magic attacks, it will make more sense. But for now, I will try and use my movement to go up to the roof, and I
Sure.
say, "Please cease hostile action."
All right.
As I approach.
So you just move yourself up to the roof. Yeah.
Yeah, Rebus would just go somewhere near. I don't know if I need to roll anything to see if I make it there, or if I'm just using my movement.
All right. So yeah, you get up, you climb up on the wall,
Okay.
and you get up there, And you're just right next to the elf, who's standing there, still energy crackling between her hands. And you tell her to seize this. Is there anything else you would like to do?
I will take my glaive from my back and just stand in front of her. Not in a hostile manner, just in a please hold kind of way.
Gotcha. All right. The elf woman has a warforged standing next to her, asking her politely to stand down. And that's your turn, Rebus? Gotcha. Rebus is done, which brings us to Rain.
The elf has already magic between their hands, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And Rebus is right next to them. This changes
Mhm.
things. Are you going to just call out to them? No one likes sore losers. And I'm going to place my hands on my tiara on the diamond in the middle. Make eye contact with the elf. And create some old crackling of myself. And I am going to use Chromatic Orb, and I am going to hurl a sphere of energy at that elf.
Ooh.
And I choose for this to be, let's stay on brand, some thunder damage. So I'm going to roll a spell attack.
Thunder damage.
Ooh, that's an 11 hit.
The crackling energy gathering around your tiara is flung at the elf, but it goes wide. Also, it goes past Rebus as he's just politely, as they're just politely asking, please seize this, and there's now a bolt of energy that's being flung past the elf, who'd look over her shoulder. And yeah, is there anything else you would like to do on your turn, Rain?
I look at Tresca and I just kind of not push my way past her, but just kind of like nudge to get them to like move now. And I am going to skedaddle. 1, 2, 3, 4. I kind of want to be a bit out of
Yeah.
So I see them, but maybe I'm obscured by a corner.
Yeah, I would say over there you would have a hard time seeing the elf next to Rebus, but you could still see the orc and the halfling on the roof.
Fair. I'll take it. That's my
Okay.
turn.
Gotcha. Talking about orcs, it's the orc's turn, who just got really quite a hit in from Delphine, and he's trying to return the favor. So he's going to swing his great axe at you, Delphine. Does an 18 hit?
Yes.
This is a great axe, which means I get to use a d12.
Ouchie.
6 points of slashing damage as he brings down the axe towards you.
Okay.
And he's just swinging wide. But you see that his movement is... the movement is already a little bit... it's weaker, the movement. There seems to be some vigor missing in the movement. You already took quite something out of the orc at this point. But he's not giving up yet. Which then, finally, all the way at the bottom of the initiative, brings us to the elf that has just been politely asked to stand down, which had lightning flung at her. Who is going to look over at Rebus. And she just lets the magic vanish between her hands and raises her hands in a surrendering gesture. And ends her turn there. And all the way at the end, Tresca is, after she's been noticing that there's some kind of fight that broke out, you hear her say, oh dear. And she's just following Rain over here to hide behind Rain here in this little alley. And that does bring us to the top of initiative again. And that means it is Dythun's turn, who is going to walk up on the roof here and is going to take a swing at the halfling, which does hit with his longsword, which he does do two-handed. And that is where my d10's at? 4 points of damage to the halfling, who gets a blow off of the sword. And that brings us then over to Delphine. You are still tangoing with the orc.
Okay, so I'm slightly pissed off at the situation, but I see that he is probably more damaged than I am, and I'm taking out my pistol and basically place it directly so that I could shoot his head, and saying like, "You should stop right there. I'm not missing this shot. I never did."
Can you give me an intimidation check with advantage, please?
Yes.
The worst part is mechanically that's disadvantage, but thematically is like
No,
the coolest
Exactly.
thing
I
in
have
the world. Thematically, it's the coolest
cares?
thing in the world.
Exactly.
No, I have the gunner feet. I ignore the 5 feet disadvantage.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're awesome.
Just, yeah.
This is okay. What is my intimidation? Oh, 19.
19.
Noise.
Yeah, so he's just still, like, he's still in the rage of combat, but at one point you pull out this gun, put it to his forehead, and his expression changes. He just shocked looks at you, and he lowers his great axe, and then you hear the cling 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 of the metal of the axe on the ground. Anything else you would like to do? This would be your action this turn.
Yep. Wise decision. Okay, and that's my turn.
That's your turn. Very good. That brings us to the halfling on the roof's turn, who is going to take the disengage action. And is going to book it over the rooftops. Just running away. And that brings us then to Rebus. You have in front of you the elf who did stop the magic between her hands. She has her hands raised and she's clearly surrendering.
I will put my glaive slightly back, still in my hand, but not in a aggressive action, and just reach with my hand to grab her, just to grab her by the arm.
Yeah.
And find a way for us to go back down. I'll take a look to see if the rest of the battle seems to be stopping.
Well, you have a nice position from the top of here on the roofs, because you can see as you look around, as you take hold of the elf, you look down and you see in the alley that Delphine is standing there with her pistol to the forehead of the orc, who has dropped his weapons. You see that the halfling is running away into the darkness over the rooftops, and Dython seems unharmed. And you peek from your elevated position, and you currently have a hard time seeing where Rain is from your current position. But generally, from what you see, this is going in your favor at the moment.
I will turn then to the elven woman and say, "Please, could you kindly ask them to stop so we can talk this over?"
I think that my friends got the message that we should stop, yeah? As long as you don't chase the halfling. And that's all
I don't
that's
think that will be necessary.
that's all that fits into the turn. Any other kind of, well, we were busy taking hold of her, trying to find a way to get down together with her. You scanned the area and you had a brief conversation. Rain, you have Tresca hiding behind you, who's worried, looking past you, what's happening? Who are these people?
Was that conversation on the rooftop fairly audible? For all of us to hear?
In this place it was.
Okay. I will move out sort of towards the middle. And I'm going to call out towards that halfling while creating like frosty balls in my hands. Did you hear that? We're not to chase you, so come on over here. And I'm holding Frostbite, 60 feet range. I am in within range now. So if she chooses to further run away or engage hostilities.
Okay, just for your theater of the mind here,
Yes.
from your position, the roof that you're looking up at
Mm-hmm.
goes diagonally slanted upwards, and she's at the other side of the roof right now. Like, you can shout at her, and she might even hear you, but you can't see her at this point.
Okay. So in that case, I would hold the Frostbite if there is an aggression from the opposing party.
Gotcha. So there's frosty energy around your hands. You shout out to the halfling, and it just lingers in the air there. Anything else on your turn?
That will be it.
That will be it. And, well, the orc has very much surrendered, and he's just basically using his turn to just make really clear that he has, for now, no aggressive tensions anymore. And the elf is further just cooperating in being dragged off the rooftop, which Rebus, you can find a way to get her off there. There's some way for that. And which means at this point, you have overcome this encounter with making sure that the halfling you see, you just hear in the distance footsteps on the rooftops, and you all are once more out of combat.
I will kick the axe away and basically shout to Delphine, "Hey, here's a new weapon for you."
Delphine comes over and inspects it all, and he looks. Well, Delphine says, "That went by without a scratch."
Putting away the pistol.
I'll maintain the frost in my hands. I look a bit more relaxed. I'm just kind of looking warily at the two. Kind of very snide smile on my face.
I turn to the elven woman, who I'm still holding by the arm, and come to the group and just ask, "So what was the purpose of this excursion? Did you want our money? Did you, I believe we've met before. Is there any unresolved issues we should talk about?"
If you ask this question to them, you hear the orc say, "Some bloody payback from how you dealt with us during the Sharn Chicken. That's one thing."
I don't believe we broke any rules.
Yeah, but you broke my bones.
Do you need healing? We can probably provide healing for you.
No, I don't need healing.
Well, not anymore. I basically heal my own, the own slash that I've got from him.
The elf woman
I see.
the elf woman who you're still having hold of, Rebus, she says, "Taking the lot of you down a peg would have been nice, but you know how things go down here in the Cogs sometimes, and how things go in our business. I mean, you're members of a guild for people to hire. We're members of a guild for people to hire. We got hired.
You do us the honor of sharing your employer now.
How about no?"
How about yes?
You see the elf looking at Rain with the ice dancing over her hands. She looks over at Delphine, Delphine, do you still have the pistol out?
I still have it out.
Okay.
Like playing with it a bit.
Gotcha. With the pistol out, and she sees Dythun, who picked up the great axe at this point, and he's like weighing it in his hand to see if it's like well balanced and everything. Glances over at Rebus and says, "Look, all I gotta say is, you're down here in the cogs. You just gotta be really careful with who you're interacting, who you're talking about, and what you're looking into. There's people who are paying money to get rid of you."
Can I launch a frostbite but intentionally miss her head?
Can you, as you do that,
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
can you give me an intimidation check as you do that?
Alright.
Rain has chaos energy.
That is a plus 3. Total 16.
16. So, as she just finishes up talking, you fire the frostbite right past her head, and the wall behind her is now covered in this sheen of ice. As she just ducked out of the way, she's already did this thing where she's moving her hands up in this like defensive position, but notices then that it's not necessary. "We can't spill everything, all right?" she says.
Rain, please. There's no need for that.
Answer me
What
one
were you
thing.
saying about
Rebus.
what were you saying about being hired to stop us? Who hired you, and why are we causing any trouble? We are just here to pick up an item. I hardly see how that's troublesome.
Delphine.
So, did you got hired by a mysterious underground group that name I doesn't want to mention right now?
You hear the orc snicker as you present it like that. He just goes like, and the elf goes, "You think this is really just about picking up an item, don't you? And you're just going and pick up something that was crafted down here? You're already bringing yourself knees deep into a lot of other people's business. And people don't really like it if you go about their business and you change things that they don't want to have changed."
Speak plainly.
No one likes changes, and still we are here.
Will you let us walk if we talk?
Yeah, sure.
This time.
You fuckers are scary. All right.
In their head telepathically. You don't know the half of it.
Holy fuck. And
It's mostly Rain. It's mostly Rain who's scary. Don't get it wrong.
the elf says, "We got in touch with a contact down here from the Dusk organization. They got wind that you were dealing with Drummond's problems, that you were trying to find a solution to that. Well, we were in the neighborhood, we got some good coin, paid for it. And we thought, hey, why don't we just also settle what happened last time with you, while we also get extra payment for hindering you." And then the orc says, "Yeah, well, should have asked that gnoll for double payment."
Probably not only double.
Should have
But-
found better hirings.
I'm looking to the orc.
Sure.
If you want to have a fair fight, then do it in another way.
The orc is back up again. He just grunts and looks over at Dythun, who's still holding his great axe. And Dythun is just like, yeah, well, it's a nice axe, but then he hands it back to the orc. Just don't use it against us again.
So, I believe then figuring out this matter with Mr. Drummond's shop might not be as easy as we thought. Where's Miss Tresca?
Yes. Oh.
And I will look around.
Sorry, you do what with Miss Tresca?
Oh, I'll just look around to see if I can see her.
Oh yeah, she's she came out of a little hiding spot and she's looking like oh yes, here I am. Oh, hello everyone. Tresca's the name. Huh, you were just trying to kill each other a few moments ago. Huh, fascinating.
I'm sorry, Miss Tresca, but I feel like the underground organization Mr. Drummond was working with might be against the shop being viable at all. Are we missing any information?
Well, I could imagine that they're still trying to squeeze as much money as they can out of Drummond, and they like someone to squeeze. If there's people coming in there and they're not as squeezable as Drummond is, that makes things harder for them. Probably they're just a bit nervous. They just don't know you yet.
Should we go and introduce ourselves then? I say to Delphine, who seems to have more of an idea of how this works.
I would love to, well, but it might not be the safest way to go.
We have another appointment anyway, remember? And I will telepathically link to Rebus is like, let's not share too much information with these people.
I'll just respond, yes, certainly. Let's move on then.
Now, I say out loud, great job. We have been hindered by at least maybe 5 minutes. Well done. You've collected your coin. You can be on your merry way.
The elf woman just crosses her arms, looks at you, frowns, and then looks at the orc. Come on, Gorashta. Let's see where Farron went. And Gorashta straps his axe back to his back. Walks by you, Delphine. He's pondering to give you one of those shoulder bumps, but he then decides against that and just walks around you as he follows the elf out of the square.
I'm just shouting behind, like, you should work on your footwork.
Hey, as he has his back to you, he raises his hand and just gives you the middle finger and walks away. Now it's just the lot of you here again in the square. As you hear from the other end, there's like heavy footsteps approaching, and you see the Minotaur you saw earlier coming back to his stall. He has like on each shoulder, there's like a back. Did I just hear some noise from here?
You're making quite some noise yourself, mister.
Fair observation. And he puts down the bags. Thought I heard some fighting or some kind of kerfuffle here. And he looks over at his stall. Oh, that looks all fine. Did anyone touch my stall?
I believe... No, it's perfectly safe. I believe the commotion has been dealt with. Nothing to worry about.
Perfect. Well,
Anything happen? I didn't saw anything.
Do you think we should move on? We'll still need to go to our destination.
oh, yes, we should. And let's hope we can... I will make sure we take a different route. This was foolish of me. I took us to one of the most dangerous districts of the Cogs. I'm so sorry. I just like this part. This square is nice, isn't it? She looks at the Minotaur. Hello there, sir. And the Minotaur, oh, hello there, Tresca. And she walks off again, leading the way as you leave the little square.
While we're walking, Rain is going to kind of go alongside Delphine. And if I look at Delphine's person, indeed the visible weapons are the rapier and the gun, correct?
Yeah, and a dagger.
And a dagger. Delphine, you mentioned the Minotaur's footwork.
You mean the orc? The Minotaur or something
I
else.
apologize. I get these burly figures confused. But nonetheless, now, I beg that you don't take this to be presumptuous of me, because I do not. It is not my forte, but I have been raised a great deal amongst people who behoove themselves to be great warriors, defenders of the realms, and yada yada blah blah. However, I do recall they were much better protected, defended, and you are not.
What do you mean? I have everything I need.
Rain is going to undo the bundle on her back, and clearly there's this long item you see, which, if for everyone who wasn't here before, in it is wrapped like this gold-scaled longsword. But behind that is also a fairly large, like takes a whole of her back, golden shield, and it looks like kind of plated like fish scales, but everything looks gold inlaid. And Rain, for being this very thin, kind of more curvy person, kind of very comfortably lifts it up and offers it to Delphine opposite side first.
This is not my style. It looks fancy, but this is not my style.
Darling, bleeding is not your style.
But you see, it gives me these nice scars.
All the more for me to fawn over, but are you sure?
Look, there are situations where heavy weapons like yours and the shield might be more suitable, like large-scale fights on the mainlands, like these large armies clashing against each other. But I lived basically half my life on a fucking ship, so every weight that's too much hinders me from walking.
Well, as the gallant and wonderful and adventurous person as you are, perhaps you would do me the honor of sharing my load, for my back is so heavy. And I leave the shield at her feet and I walk on.
How much weights this shield?
It's a regular shield.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful shield, but mechanically it is a regular shield, and it is now in your
Okay.
possession, Delphine. You have been bestowed upon a Triton shield.
Oh boy.
Like, you don't have to equip it, but you know that shit's heavy.
You know, I have
She's doing you a favor. This is, it's for your own good. It's a present. She's going to feel insulted if you don't accept it, and you don't want Rain to be mad at you.
I
Yeah,
strut
and
off.
nobody wants that.
I know.
Rain does the rain strut and struts further onward, while Tresca leads you into a part of the Cox where it seems like the streets are getting wider and the houses, buildings, get even a semblance of beauty over functionality to them. There are less and less of these just very square and blocky forges and refineries, and more often you actually see adornments in the architecture. There's like decorative pillars along the walkways that you use. And after about another maybe 35 minutes of walking through the cogs, and by now being pretty used to the smoky air down here and the temperature, you see in the distance, towering over the other smaller buildings of the cogs, a domed structure. It almost looks like multiple domed buildings being brought together in these almost Gothic-style arches that come over the top of them. Leading away from these domes are long buildings that are kind of almost like cathedral-like in their grandeur. It's for lack of speaking, it's a combination of what looks like a forge and a cathedral, a majestic architecture, and kind of the trademark of House Cannith, of combining the noble aesthetic of their lineage with the functionality of the industry that they operate in.
Ah, finally something cozy.
On the way closer to it, you see that now the streets are wide enough for entire carts moving next to each other to go towards the streets and alleys that bring resources to this cathedral forge, which is the Cannith enclave here in the city. You see Tresca is still leading you further closer towards the building, and now you are across a bridge that leads to the main entrance, and all along the bridge are these banner stands, and hanging from the stands are these finely woven and surprisingly clean banners showing the bull-like head of a gorgon, which is the sigil of House Cannith, as you also saw it before on the letters that Drummond had of House Cannith. And you come to the massive gate of stone and steel ahead of you, which is guarded by what looks like multiple suits of animated armors. They do look like armors, but there's gaps in between the pieces of armor, like some invisible entity is holding them all aloft. And as you approach, one of them turns his floating helmet towards you, and in like a tin-like voice, they say, "Authentication, please." And Tresca rummages through her bags and she just mumbles, "Oh dear, I should have already gotten that out, of course. Where is it? Yes, here it is."
My people.
And she brings out this kind of, it looks like a badge, and she flips the badge open. License number 456 Sigma X. And you see the animated armor look for a moment, completely frozen still. Move up his head. Registration for Drummond Independent. Please proceed. And the gate opens just wide enough for passengers by foot to enter. And right behind the gate, you see a large open space where people are milling about in between different desks and office spaces. and you can hear in the distance leading away from this large space, which is fairly brightly illuminated. It's almost blinding for a moment as you've been walking through this kind of twilight lighting in the cogs. Here's now this bright light, and you can hear all the talking of clerks and office employees talking about paperwork that needs to be done as you enter this space. And Tresca walks up to what looks like a front desk, and she stands there and reaches up to reach the edge of the desk, and to then bing slam on a bell on the front desk. And leaning over on the other side, you can see this. All of you are medium-sized. You can see this, that on the other side of the desk, there's also a gnome on the other side of the desk who is now looking over. Yes, hello. Oh, Tresca. And Tresca like,
Don't you
Ulrich.
know here?
Oh, Ulrich, nice that you're on duty today. How's it today? And Ulrich just shrugs like, nah, lots of paperwork, lots of things to file. I'm kind of glad I have the front desk shift today. And he looks up, looks at the rest of you. Well, hello there. Welcome to the Cannith Enclave. My name is Ulrich. I will be signing you in here today, but I see that you are also here with Miss Teasbeak.
Miss what? I'm sorry.
Teasbeak. Teesbeak.
I
Tresca
love
Tawny
this.
Teasbeak.
Continue, please.
And Ulrich is he looks at all of you. Any kind of specific business you're here with Miss Teasbeak? And then Tresca says, we're actually here about the case for Mr. Drummond. You know, Ulrich? And Ulrich goes, oh. Whew. He's too scared to come by himself now? Tresca says then, no, we actually have a proposal to resolve that case. Would rather not have it out here in the open. And Ulrich just says, yes, I get what you want. Follow me. And he hops off from behind the desk, and he leads you through this white space with all of the clerks filing paperwork, having discussions, and while you hear in the you also see that on some of these desks, you see they're more like workshops. It looks like there's gears and tuning forks and different plating and stuff. This seems like a hybrid between an office where there's paperwork and bureaucracy done and a blacksmithing place or a workshop for technology. And Ulrich guides you through this massive space and then into a hallway which leads away from this big space, which is still very nicely lit, and into a nice side chamber, which seems like they have like this hallway with all these little chambers next to each other for what like seems to be like private discussions or meetings and the likes. And he leads you into a room for a few things, or for a room where you can just talk. There's a table, there's some chairs. All right. You just sit down. I'm just going to fetch the dossier for the case of Mr. Drummond, and I'll be right back. And he just leaves you in the room. Tresca takes a seat on one of the chairs. Oh, that's she says. Then once Ulrich is out, that's a friend of mine. We went to the same university.
Right, you had mentioned him before.
Well, we
Pleasure
don't-
to meet him.
Yeah, we don't know each other so long yet, so I think there's a lot I haven't told you yet.
It seems like there's a
I-
story behind it.
Oh no, he's a good friend. We met in university. We had some nice conversations, and we both decided after graduating to go to Sharn.
Oh.
He had the connections, and he landed a good job with House Cannith, while I was just working away in little forges, which is also nice, of course. And well, it teaches you patience. Huh.
It is a good mark of any potential business person to have the connections you have. Very good case, very good.
Right, yes, connections, right. So, just while we're still gone, we want to present this as in, hey, Drummond can't clear his payments, but we can pay for that, and that we then just move it over into someone else's property? How do you want to run this?
This is
Well,
awfully
that would be a question
complicated.
of how much he owes.
Why should
We
you
do
be
not have
responsible
all
for
the
his poor
details.
decisions?
That is also true. That is not part of our assignment.
Also, why should we pay for him?
Oh, but you do have the envelope with the House Kunarok.
This is the payment for the idol.
And nothing else.
Huh. Would be so tempted to
But
Yes.
But if you and your perhaps new colleagues, employees can remove Drummond from the picture, get to work, you would have an immediate source of income in, taps on her chest where the piece of paper is, you hear it crinkling. Immediate income. One that could
That is-
satisfy whatever arrangements you make with House Cannith. And should they be interested in seeing a potentially successful and prosperous business owner, perhaps they might also have an opinion about sending cleanup supplies to help with this other little matter, because that would impede getting this idol done as soon as possible, yes.
Right. Yes. We're just gonna file for Drummond's forced resignation, signing it over to a suitable replacement, and then we finish the idol for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so hard. All right.
Do you think that will cover all the costs? Would you be
Oh.
okay?
The thing is, I don't want to be presumptuous or anything, but if we can get it signed over to me, I can start getting to, work on making the business more profitable again. I could have done a lot of things for Drummond already, but he's always been so protective of his bookkeeping, his accounting, and maybe I could have already helped him a lot in this entire situation, but if I'm in charge of the books, I might be able to do well better than he does.
So be it then. It sounds like a good solution.
And you hear from outside of the door. You hear there's a conversation on the other side of the door, and you hear the voice of Ulrich as he says, "Oh, Lord Merrix, what an honor!" And you hear a very friendly voice coming like, "Ah, I am so sorry. I do not recall all the names of those in my employment." "Oh, that is no problem, Lord Merrix. I am just a humble clerk here. What brings you here? I'm just passing through. I was just taking a look of the offices and everything. would you mind if I just, go in with you there? And you hear the gnome say, Lord Merrick's, this is just some boring paperwork. I was just, you hear a very jovial voice say, and then the door is opened, and you see standing next to Ulrich, you see this human male figure who has a bright red, well-kept beard and shoulder-long red hair, is dressed in silk robes with a magnificent sash across his hip and a cape over his shoulders, which is attached with a brooch to his chest. And the brooch is in the shape of a gorgon's head as he looks into the room. And he has these bright green eyes and a friendly, welcoming smile on his face as he enters. He's like, and he looks around the room. So, paperwork it is then. And he smiles at all of you. Welcome to the enclave. I hope you're going to have a great time here. And Ulrich is blushing, and he's completely ashamed at this point. He's just standing there. He doesn't know what's happening. And he has this folder under his arm, and he just moves by the red-haired man and puts the folder on the desk. Yes, they're doing fine, Lord Merrick's. Yes.
This looks like someone who can make decisions and has authority to do many things. Welcome.
Oh, Merrick smirks and he looks at you. I do have quite some authority, but I do not want to infer with the business of my employees. I was just curious how the things were doing now that I was here on a visit, and sometimes it is good to keep a bit in touch with all levels of your organization. And he flashes a smirk again. And Rebus, could you give me an intelligence saving throw?
Certainly. Eight.
As this friendly man is stepping into into this little office and is having a bit of conversation with Rain, you look at him and he turns his face towards you at one point, still flashing this friendly smile. Suddenly, your view stutters. It's almost as if, you know how you can have like these artifacts in an old video cassette when you play the cassette and there's like these stutter and missing pixels and the likes. What you see right now starts to have this grainy vision, but the man in front of you remains completely sharp and outlined as the backdrop becomes grainy and dim. And you suddenly hear, echoing in the back of your head, you hear the voice of this man without his lips moving. You hear him say, I don't think it would be wise to use one of them for that. This is not the intent we have with the creation of these units. The vision remains grainy, except now you see Lord Merrick's in front of you. He is still sharp and clear, but his outfit has changed. You see him in what looks more like a tunic fit for battle, with on the chest this beautiful gorgon covering the entire chest. The smell of oil and wax fills your nose, or what kind of sensory systems you have for that. And then you hear again his voice, coming from a different angle, almost shouting, like, no, shut it off, shut it off. Merrick's in front of you then also begins to flicker. As you just feel this pulse of electricity going through your entire body. Your vision goes black momentarily, almost as if you turn off an old school TV, like the image just going to the middle in this white flash. And then slowly your vision returns. And you see your companions, the room. And you see Lord Merrick standing there looking at you, still with a very friendly and welcoming smile. And a hint of surprise on his face. And that's where we're going to end today's session and going to pick up next week.
No!
Nice.
Oh, that was intense.
What?
All right.
No.
Yeah, well, if you thought you would just come here to go and sell a forge, no. There's
I just want Tresca and Stoke to be happy and Drummond to like find a way to pay his debts. Like I don't care. What?
Yep.
Oh goodness.
Well, and it looks like
Fun.
you're well on your way to help Tresca and Stoke to get out of it. And maybe just also get a little bit of secrets from someone's background.
I have a lot of notes to write down.
What's a goodie?
Yeah, how are you feeling? How's the...
I think it's starting to take off, you know. I'm excited to see what the adventure will bring. I'm happy that the interaction with the rival adventurer group went so nicely. We just intimidated the hell out of them. They just stopped. Kind of sad they're not gonna get paid for whatever, you know, they had to do. I mean, they had to hinder us. They can say they did for like 5 minutes. That's fair.
And who knows, it might have been the last time that you saw them.
Yeah, I'm expecting to have another head-to-head with them. Maybe we can, like, I'm hoping we can be friends, you know. I'm hoping we can like befriend them and then like have just like friendly banter with them, like go to the fighting pit in the troll's nose and like fight there, but then just be like, yeah, dude, this is cool, you know.
It's absolutely not Rain's vision for the future with them.
Every Ash Ketchum needs their Gary. So
Gary's a douche. No, I don't like him.
True.
These guys were just getting paid and also wanted their pride to not be broken anymore. But
exactly. All right. Well.
Hey, I hope people watching enjoyed it. What do you think?
Yeah, we already said Slothinator founded a nice spooky robot telepathy.
Yes.
And that's and we have nice spooky Triton telepathy, and we also have nice spooky robot telepathy now. So
hey, except for me, it's not on purpose. That was very interesting. I was not expecting to just get random, like strange memory flashes. I can't wait to talk to this guy. You know?
Just a random boss, just going to check out his employees, and then bam.
My god, in the end, Rebus was this really heavy fighting robot. Like for the special cases. And we don't know.
A weapon, just a terrible nuclear weapon.
Yeah,
like...
kind of.
Which would be this nice contrast to telling in the fight someone, please stop this, and just politely tell like, please just stop what you're doing.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Although I can't wait to actually use them in combat. Like I love playing fighting classes, so that'll be fun. But for this one, like it didn't,
Exactly.
they didn't seem that convinced.
Exactly. All right. Well, we are going to find out next week how this continues as we see how the group will maybe help Tresca start her own business then, and also learn a little bit more about the what might be up with Rebus there. Before we clock out for tonight, is there anything any one of you wants to plug? What's any viewers might want to be looking forward to in the coming week?
Well, for me, I'm back to streaming finally, like on a more regular basis. I do not have a fixed schedule, but if you want to be notified, either follow me on the Twitch channel or on social media where I will post about it, or on my Discord. You can find these things. I'm Sariel Snowwings everywhere. No worries. But I stream art. I do illustrations. So if you feel like joining and just seeing me work on whatever I need to work on at the moment, some personal illustrations and some illustrations for different jobs, you're free to join. And, it's a chill time. And I'll be doing that a couple of times a week. So would love to see you there.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely worth checking out. Good art, good conversations, good music. Check out Sariel's stream. Anything else going on with anyone?
All's good in the hood, for me at least.
Yep.
Good. All right. Well, you can find all of us next week again here, same time, same place at Horde of Tales, as we're going to continue then. Until then, thank you very much for watching tonight, for hopefully enjoying what we did, and hope to see you again next week. Take care, and bye-bye.
See you next week.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.